one, we want to make sure that whatever we do put out is meaningful and that we're holding space responsibly. And like, what does that look like from our podcast perspective with everything that's going on in the world, without taking up, space and time, just pretending like everything's normal.
Yeah.
and also for our own like mental health.
Right. I don't think your podcast has ever acted like things are normal, to be honest.
You
all challenge, question, and open yourself up to being vulnerable. That's not very common. And yeah, never a bad thing.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Nice.
That makes sense. I think I can speak for Kate when I say that makes us feel good.
Yes. Emily speaks for me tacitly in every situation. Welcome to Witchcast.
Cause it's Witchcast.
I'm Emily.
I'm Kate.
And this is the Witchcast podcast.
That's right. We are former baby, now growing through novice into adolescent witches. We started this podcast to learn and grow and get to know the witch community and learn everything we can about everything in the witchy universe.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here. And we have a really special guest today to speak with us about their journey and what they're passionate about and hold space for us. And we're holding space for them. We're really excited to have tarot reader, spiritually light, beautiful being, June Chung with us.
Hello. It's very funny to, I think, so I've been introducing myself lately as June, looking into ancestral trauma, non-binary, queer. All these labels don't really matter anymore because who are we even in front of? That's how I've been feeling.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
How about you? How have you been, June?
Yeah, how are you?
Depressed, but not in the worst way. Like I'm experiencing a Wheel of Fortune-esque energy, because externally things look the same. I'm having similar boundary issues with people, and I'm having watching workplaces transform and collapse. Like literally all these things that are not within my power are happening around me again. But this time I'm like, hey, I actually have good coping mechanisms for this now. And I have skills that I didn't have last year. And so even though it's hard, it's more like, I know I just kind of have to let things go at their own pace. And I just have to focus on recovery, which is actually what I wanted to talk to you two about today. Because I mean, I'm doing a couple of conversations on this soon with some other people too, but I've been just talking to my friends about what does it mean to rest and where joy fits into rest and how, I mean, my emotions are deeply attuned to the weather and I hate the summer, which is sad to say because I have a summer birthday. I chose the name June, which is in the summer. But at the same time, I think because I have my birthday in the middle of the year, I often have the emotions of like the end of the year, even though it's mid-year. And a lot of self-reflection happens for me in the summer. And I normally don't like spending the summer outside with people, which has been complicated since, people are starting to want to see each other in person again. And I have a lot of friends who love in-person quality time, which I deeply appreciate, but could not offer. So watching all of that kind of turn its own wheel has been really interesting. As the weather's gotten nicer, I feel my emotions lifting. So I have been reaching out to people and saying yes to things again. But I think something that's been really powerful is my relationship to art and my relationship to tarot, because I think both of you, we're all artists in this space, which is complex in this time where we're being asked for so much as artists and as activists. And when your art becomes activism and your activism becomes art, there's this pull to like endlessly deliver and deliver and deliver. And I've been thinking about my relationship with how my art used to be so external, and all the films I made, including one that I have unfinished, when I go back to them, I'm like, wow, I feel this incredible pressure to deliver something to the world. Even though, I mean, I kind of lost touch with the root of why I was doing it. Like, art used to be my way of self-expression, and then it became transformed both by capitalism, by external pressures, and by, you know, just the way the art world works. It became commodified, and my worth became more like, what did I have to show to prove I was an artist versus what am I making and investigating. So I've kind of broken up with art again. Tried to draw recently, and I find that I can only draw fun little cute things again, which seems to be my way of recovery. But on the other hand, where art seems to have become this force of nature for me that feels incredibly forced, like I feel like I have to give it my all or else it won't happen. Tarot's been coming naturally. I got the scholarship in the beginning of quarantine when I got laid off of a job, and I was feeling so hopeless and so confused, alone and quietly in like a new apartment. I had to move because my last apartment had mold. I moved right when quarantine started. And then I got the scholarship. It was lovely. I was learning and absorbing some new information, but I found that I was just caring for people using the tarot during COVID, and still during COVID. I find that people find me. I no longer have to reach out to have clients. I think I do like 1 or 2 readings a month, depending on who has passed my information to each other. And because I've been reading so much for people, I actually feel like my intuition's gotten a lot stronger around it. And in addition, it seems like offerings just come to me now. So like I don't have to look for clients. And I also was offered to teach a workshop from some old healing connections I had at a yoga studio called Surya Side. So yeah, my lovely, lovely friends at Surya Side. I love them so much. It's cool to just see how my tarot has found its own pace. I did literally so much work on it last year, but it felt like nothing because I didn't have to externalize the work. I didn't have to share some sort of concrete way. Actually, I've kind of ditched my drawing series because I got to a card, the moon, which I have linked heavily to ancestral trauma, and am currently taking a course on how tarot can be used to kind of uncover the connection between epigenetics, like what gets environmentally passed to you from your ancestors' DNA, and how that creates this collective unconscious that we can tap into either through mediumship, through tarot, to ask where this trauma came from that we didn't live. That's a course by Benabel. Super cool.
That sounds so cool. Yeah.
It's awesome because I have a bio degree and I was like, I'm never going to use this. And now I'm using it again. That was a long way to say that tarot has just come naturally into my process. And something I've been focusing on my activism on is reminding people the rest, reminding people that we have to show up with our fullest selves, and we can't do that without knowing what is enough. And by researching my own ancestral trauma, both within myself, both like through the context of learning, for me, Chinese, Japanese history in America, and learning how my family might not be able to talk about that trauma. And so I am the generation that gets to address it because I have some safer environments. I have mental health access. Thinking all of that through, like, how do I help others? It's by self-analyzing and understanding the harm that I come from and have doled out so that I don't do that. I don't share that. And then I can, help others find this self-healing method. Yeah.
That sounds like a really great journey to be on.
It's very helpful
challenging also.
and challenging. But this is my death year, so when I read tarot for you all last time, I mentioned that on your 27th year, you come back to a card that is one of your purpose or personality cards, or like one card in tarot through numerology that roots you. And I'm on my death year this year, so just like a powerful shedding, not giving a
Wow.
damn.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've always really admired how gracious you are with yourself and others. I think like that's why we wanted to have you on so soon in this process, because as we're speaking about how do we promote healing within ourselves, and then also for our listeners, if they also can benefit from that. You immediately, of course, came to mind. You and I had been speaking about what you're going through a little bit before, and like I love that you're so kind with yourself of like, these are the things I'm experiencing. This is what's happening. And I'm going to allow them and not fight them and try not to beat myself up about it. And just like you kind of let life teach you and lead you. You're with tarot becoming more a part of your focus. Like all of that is just really, really cool. And I'm sure very emotionally difficult, but your kindness is always something I've really loved.
I really appreciate that, because verbally I sound like I have a lot of kindness, but I will admit the depression comes from, and the reason I couldn't reach out to people is because the inner critic was there yelling at me for a long time. And
Yeah.
I'm finally feeling myself reground, especially through tarot. Like when I read for other people, I'm basically channeling for once. This is the first time ever I haven't had to think. Yeah, I don't have to ever really like critically think to myself, oh my God, this person's not going to find this card definition true to them. I'm like, no, they couldn't. It's fine. I have what I have to deliver. But yeah, I think what I've noticed is the inner critic has not changed. That person's still there yelling at me. But now I have other versions of me that's like, yeah, but that's not true. Or yeah, but shut up.
Yeah.
Because you're not fun to hang out with, and we're gonna hang out here. You're welcome to join us. That's the mental battle. But tarot's been a great way for me to root myself in self-reflective definitions. So when I'm having a hard time, I'll read myself a card, or when I'm talking to a friend who's saying like, I'm having trouble with this, I'm like, oh, there's a tarot card for this. The one card I've been reading a lot lately, I'm wondering if this is coming up for you too, is Justice and Judgment. I'm pulling this card more than I've ever pulled. And
I think we were getting that a lot earlier in the pandemic and the protests. Yeah, I was getting that quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I just never resonated with those two cards, but because I've had to read it so often, I finally get it in a way that I want to share. Right now, the Justice card, this is a definition I've adapted from Lindsay Mack. It's the concept that it's not this idealized justice that you wish to see, and you get so disappointed and sad when it doesn't happen. And it's not the one we have right now, because that one sucks. So a lot of people don't resonate with this card because it's like, what is justice if it doesn't exist? Because we're defining it by something that isn't. Like these two feel so far away from each other, the idealized and the real. And something that I've learned through death and my experience with death is that grieving is really hard, and the more you put it off, the less you see what's in front of you. We have to move through these emotions and let ourselves feel the anger and the frustration and the sadness that our idealized justice doesn't exist, so that we can actually see what is going on right now. Because it's so hard to see through the grief without. And I have friends who have the Justice card as a personality card, which is what you feel like you naturally grew up with, or like a natural tendency that you had. And when I see those people, they're really good at monitoring how they feel, letting themselves feel it out. So then they're like, okay, I grieved. Now what do we do with this? Like, we see it now. This sucks, but at least I can see it now and ask myself, what is the next page of this book. Like, what can I do next? Yeah, kind of reclaiming when things feel overwhelming back to one person action. Yeah.
That's fascinating. I never ever thought of it like that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, as per usual, tarot can have many definitions, and you should find one that resonates with you. But yeah, I mean, when I've read for you too, I always hope that whatever I read with the tarot is meant to give someone a sense of like self-motivation and justice. So you can only make these things happen for you. There's a lot of external things that can happen, but internally you are still yourself. No one can take that from you. And the way I read tarot hopefully just helps you strengthen the sense of self, because at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our actions and how we move in this world and what privileges we have. And if we don't constantly acknowledge and challenge them and not feel like it's some insurmountable thing to change, it's really not. We can all change. Yeah, there's a joke I've been saying lately in meetings where people introduce themselves and I will introduce myself too, and I will be like, well, a year ago I was cis and straight, but you know, things change. And it's really fun to say that because there is so much that can change. And it wasn't like I personally transformed on the outside. It was, I had to transform inside first before I could share it. And yeah, the justice card, I think so much about how right now I feel people asking like, what can I do? What can I do? And when we're asking that, we're looking for like a magic one bullet solution, which, by the way, using the word bullet, let's be real, harmful. And everyone, not everyone, but I'm finding a lot of people speak to me as if they are the only person who's going to ever make a change, which I'm going to be very clear, sounds like very cis, white, het norm of I am a dominator, I have to change it alone. Or we look to people like how people will reference Martin Luther King and all these other people who are these big figureheads as these are the only people who can make change. But they were just the face of a movement. And there are plenty of leaders beneath that and below and above and beyond that. And one of my friends quoted, I can't remember the actual activist who said this, but basically that we're in a leaderful movement. So you are not alone in fighting this cause. And also, this is not the first nor the last time we will fight this for this cause. So how do you make it sustainable? And how do you trust that when you need to tap out, other people are going to jump in? And how do you form a community where you do get to take turns and rest? Or have a community that you could rest with without feeling guilty? Yeah. Those are my thoughts lately. It's been fun.
That's it. Just those few tiny small things.
If I could also just mention my recent judgment card definition, because I hated that card for so long because I was scared of the moon, the sun, and judgment. I was like, I don't get those. And I finally understand the moon, which I feel like is that final look in the mirror before you go back out into the world, which can be really hard. I think a lot of us are in this moment in the moon. And then the sun is how do you return to the world with all that you've learned and not change yourself for others, which is really hard. I mean, the card itself has an image of a child, which I've been taught is your inner child that you feel is finally has a safe environment to go out and play because you'll defend it. I'm struggling with that card right now because I don't really want a public facing self ever again. At least in the way that the way that people expect so much of public figures, despite the fact that we're all human. I mean, I used to work for a celebrity and I would just watch people dehumanize this person who I'm not saying it's a good person, but it's insane to see how much hope and energy people put on other people that they could have in themselves, which is the sun. And then judgment, I finally get this because I've only recently had judgment card realizations. You can only get to a certain point because you've done the journey. But on the journey, you had no fucking clue where you were going. So if you don't know, or I think about possibly how you all might experience projects with art. It's like, we really want this end result to happen. But then all this like human error happens in the meantime, and you're like, well, this is no longer the project I had imagined. This doesn't feel like what true to what I wanted. And all that human want is just bullshit. Because then we're not asking ourselves how we changed during the project, how the art changed with us. And by forcing ourselves to try to go to one point, we miss all the journeys on the side that we were meant to take. And judgment card is like, oh, I finally get it. That's why I did all that stuff. Everything makes sense. Like, this is who I was supposed to be the entire time. And I would not have been able to get here without being confused on the way. So lately I've been reminding myself that I'm feeling confused because I am on that journey and I'm not at the judgment card. So I don't know the end point. I can't assume.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. I love those explanations. It reminds me of like, you know how they always say like the as a filmmaker, like the film is made in post. And it's like you can prepare as much as possible. You can prep, you storyboard, you script, you shoot, you try and get all the coverage. But like at the end of the day, when it goes into edit, like it's going to become its own thing. Some things are not going to work. Some things are not going to translate. And you have to kind of just let it become then its own new organic thing based on what works in the edit room.
It's funny to even think about, I kind of see tarot more like improv and like theater, because it just happens and then it's done and I don't have to record it for people. It was like a very personal experience between me and
there's no reviewing it and then picking at it and cutting out the things that don't work. It's just an expression.
That's very freeing.
Yeah.
I will say what's really interesting when you were speaking is that, you know, I completely empathize with that pressure of like having to create for others or having to show like, this is what I have, this is my portfolio, this is the festivals I've got into or whatever to be considered an artist. And not because I think artists are people, like that's it's part of your identity. Like you live, even if you're not actively creating anything, you're an artist until you die because that's part of your blood. Like that's just who you are. And but it's interesting that with tarot, it seems like from what you're telling us is like you've actually been able to kind of flourish and grow and evolve and really kind of find love by giving to others. So it almost worked in the opposite way of your art almost, because you're just channeling and you're just like, it's not about judgment on you. It's just, you're here to receive and give. And it's just like kind of a fluid motion.
I talk all the time to people who I'm teaching birth tarot. I'm like, I'm the emperor. So I am here to remind you that you're allowed to do whatever you want, as long as it's not harming people. And like, hopefully you do things because you have the self-reflection that you're going to help others no matter what, because you know exactly what is enough for your energy and what you need to nourish yourself. And all that other stuff is access. You didn't need it. Like, it wasn't yours. Weird story, but I keep buying clothing, or when I thrift, I'll thrift clothing and I'm like, this isn't, like, I don't know if this is mine. And I'll wear it in front of someone and they'll be like, oh my God, I love that outfit. And I give it to them because I was like, oh, I was meant to pass this to you because this doesn't bring me the joy at all that you're saying. I did that to someone on their birthday. I thrifted like this gorgeous fuzzy teal coat, and that was the color that they really resonate with all the time. I wore it to the birthday and I was like, do you want to try this on? And they were like, yeah. And they ended up keeping it. My partner just saw that I bought Monstera earrings, like these big, actually I'll show it to you right now, but in case this is just all audio based, like it's this silver outline. Yeah, silver outline of the Monstera leaf. And my partner doesn't have his ears pierced. And he was like, those are mine. I was like, I know, I don't like them. They're not for me. I bought them and now I'm wearing them and I'm like, this isn't for me. So it's nice. I think of tarot in a similar way. I receive a lot of messages and they're not for me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell when they are for me. Sometimes I have to pull cards ahead of time before I do a reading. I did that once where I pulled cards for a friend over the phone, and the first two I was like, these are mine. I've been pulling these lately. Sorry, let me re-pull. And I pulled a bunch of cards that I never normally receive. I was like, these are your cards. Like, this isn't. I wonder if you all have noticed. I don't know if you two have been pulling cards a lot, but I'm curious if you're noticing any serendipity if you do pull, or like if you're not pulling right now, if there's other serendipity in your magic that you've felt.
I feel like, Emily, you've been pulling a lot more than me.
Yeah, I'm just picking up my tarot deck.
Oh,
I was playing with them earlier. I just
Taking
need
these
some
out.
too.
Yeah.
I will say, like, while you're it's very old sage. I've had it for years. I'm not buying any new white sage. But just have to say that. But
that's fair.
I've been trying to be very mindful of that. I'm just pulling up the last spread I did for myself, but I have been noticing a lot of the same cards over and over again. I haven't been reading that much during this pandemic times, but I do remember getting the Justice card when I did a ritual of protection for the protesters. And I got a hermit for myself just recently, and I was very happy to see that. I was like, I'm so thankful to be in a hermit place in my life. That's totally fine with me right now. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah, the hermit was hitting me all summer, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, listen. That's exactly correct. It's I kept the ones that kept showing up at the bottom of the. I just put them at the bottom of the deck because I'd had them out on my desk.
I love that idea. Keep it in,
with the idea that I'd shuffle the next time I was actually going to draw a card, but just that I had them like to look at while I work. That's I kind of like if I get a spread that resonates, I'll just kind of like put them along my desk for a bit and then put them away when I feel like it's time. Anyway, but the Lord has been showing up for me a lot, which is like. This is the druid one, but I think it's the
Emperor.
The Emperor, yeah.
Yeah,
so
we got that out of
2020 Emperor. Yeah, that was so that was on my desk all week, and then the Two of Pentacles.
Oh wow,
has been around a bit. And also the Nine of Pentacles. I've been getting a lot of Pentacles.
That's fun. I'm slowly learning the minor arcana. Also hilarious. I re-listened to the podcast that we did together and I heard my Midwestern accent come out like crazy. I was like, Arcana. I was like, oh yeah, that's my Chicago accent right there.
That's all right. Yeah, Canada has the same problem. Yeah. Half the time I'll like write down how to pronounce something and then the second I say it out loud I go with the most Canadian possible pronunciation.
I haven't really done my full ancestral trauma pull, partially because I'm afraid, but secondly because I still haven't fully learned the minor arcana in the way that I feel comfortable with the majors. And it requires like 17 cards. So I'm like, well, either I could pull all the major arcana or I can wait and let myself have more knowledge. But what I understand of the Pentacles is it's not material per se, but how you externalize and have physical connection to the world. So maybe your body is asking to connect more because we're all up here in our brow. It's really heavy and blue.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You know what's so crazy? I was just looking at the spread I did. Actually, I lied. So the spread I did when I did a ritual for protection for the protesters back in June, it was I was using my Vision Quest deck, which has like indigenous peoples imagery, and I got the grandfather, which is the emperor as well. Like the emperor's been popping up so much. And I also got chaos, which is actually, I think, the most related to the tower.
I was going to say, I was actually thinking a lot about two things. We're in an emperor year, so very funny that you keep pulling emperor. Like
we're like,
everyone's
Jan told us.
Yeah. Every time we're like, ah.
I mean, it makes sense because we're fighting for our voices to be heard and for people who haven't been heard for a long time to be heard. I mean, people literally white spread or man spreaded their legs on the train of human beings. So we're just asking for you to close your legs. That's really it.
Oh my God, I love that. That's such a succinct way to put it. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna credit you and use
you know you don't need that much space, and that's why you're so angry.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about people who are not listening and who are feeling this performativity right now. If you're feeling performative, ask yourself who you're performing for. If those people even want that, because they most likely don't. They probably just want you to vote and show up and like spend money on them and care more, and challenge yourself daily with questions, which is fair. Versus, who are you performing for? Why are you performing? What could you use that energy towards instead? Because, hey, there's lots of things you could do for yourself that aren't self-indulgent and that do make you a better ally or accomplice or conspirator. That's a phrase my friend and I have been using lately, co-conspirator. What were we talking about?
the man spreading.
No, and then the tower. I've been thinking about how to draw it lately. I keep drawing like Jenga, or I'm drawing like the aftermath of the tower because I think people are so afraid of things falling down. But I don't know. At this point, I've knocked things down so many times. It's just like I just need to clean up, really. And I think a lot. And I think a lot about Emily's definition of you being the lightning bolt that chooses to knock it down.
Yeah. Destruction into creativity, into like the future.
And
necessary destruction.
Because after the destruction, you get to rebuild, and that's the best part.
There's a book I started reading when I was coming out called Queering Anarchy or Queering Anarchism. I'm forgetting. It's basically a compilation of queer folks and anarchists talking about the intersections of queerness and anarchy. And anarchy was a term that used to intimidate me. I was like, well, what I've been taught about it is not positive. And the definition they gave in the book was anarchy is not necessarily destruction without purpose, because it's destruction to allow for creation. Like we're not just burning it down to burn it down. We're burning it down because things need to shed sometimes, like phoenixes or controlled forest fires, like what indigenous people used to do. Like it needs we need to allow for new space to be taken and shifted all the time, because we're not the same people we were however many centuries ago. I don't know. I try so hard not to be harsh and sarcastic with all these things, but it's easy to practice empathy every day for yourself, so that then you just practice empathy outwards towards everyone else. Lots of self-love.
I've been saying this a lot. Like I was really kind of in my head and spiraling about my activism in the summer and feeling very incensed and called to action at the same time, guilty I'm not doing enough, and then feeling like, what do my BIPOC friends think of me? Like, are they judging me? And then I was like, I had to like kind of had like this breakdown, and I had to come to that realization of, oh my God, it's not about you. Like, it's not about you. At the end of the day, it's not you. Like, again, like you were saying, Kate, you're not a superhero. You're not Batman. Like, it's not your job to save the world. All you can do is do your part to live your best life for yourself and the people around you, and do what little actions you can to help push the collective whole towards, better progress. But like, and that really, I think, kind of helped me come to terms with like, what is performative activism and what does it all mean? And how can we, because you're right, it's about sustainability. It's long-term. Like we're never going to stop being done improving as communities, as human beings. So fighting for the long haul.
I was thinking about what you were talking about with feeling like everything's falling on you. if you were ever even in that position, that's not okay. Like, why does one person even have that much power to
Yeah.
billionaires? Why did people have enough power to do and change everything? Like, if these people could just literally give some of their funds to fix very simple things like Flint's water, like what the
Right.
sorry, tangents
I know.
galore.
Like, how is that not fixed?
And
Right.
I mean, I could sit here again. This is Justice card. Like, I could sit here complaining and being fucking angry about it, and then I need to also make sure that turns into an actionable item for me, because me sitting
Yeah.
here alone will not change other things. It might sit here, and when we allow anger to just sit here in our chest, it either goes at people for no reason. Normally horizontal anger, which is us harming our loved ones and our community, which is who we're fighting for, or
Yeah.
it'll go in at ourselves and we will knock ourselves to the floor and we can't do anything there. Whenever I'm depressed, I'm like, wow, I really knocked myself down and I need the rest. The star card, you need, when you have a huge wound, it takes so much courage to pick yourself up again. And it doesn't happen quickly. I don't know. It's like if I broke my leg, I was like, well, now I need to go run a marathon tomorrow because what else could I do? Yeah. And then instead, you live with this chronic pain of something that you should have let heal. I wanted to ask you too if you have heard about the Mulan movie.
I have not watched it, but I have heard
I'm
about
aware
it.
of it. I have not watched it. Yeah, same.
Good, done. You're good. You don't need to watch it. Instead, there's this YouTuber, or actually someone, they are a book critic, normally on Twitter, and they created a YouTube account because they were so angry at the way in which Mulan was created, especially basically by white people. Like, the director, white, the screenwriters, white. What the fuck, Disney? You could bleep that out if you don't want to get sued.
No, we swear on this thing all the time. And also, yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck, Disney?
How can you in the
That's why I didn't watch it.
of our goddess 2020?
So something that
No.
let me find the YouTuber's name so I don't misquote them. Mulan critic. I don't even know how to find this video. It's crazy. This came up on my feed and I was just laughing so hard that this person literally made a YouTube channel because they were so pissed.
Just so angry about this movie.
Yeah, oh shoot. Hopefully if I remember her name later, I will bring it up again. But essentially,
we can link it.
Yeah, she was critiquing the concept of the way they use the term witch in this movie because she was like, that's not something that people talk. That's like such a Western concept. And this Western concept was thrown into like this Eastern context. And it was to the point where she was saying they were talking about chi and saying that Mulan had strong chi, but also like chi is basically like your spiritual blood force. So it's like saying you have really strong blood. I was just like, wow, they really. They
really didn't even hire a consultant.
No consultant, because who on that team was going to be like, I think we should bring in someone Asian? They would have just lost their jobs, right?
Yeah.
That's so embarrassing. Listen, I know it's very white to try to take responsibility in the first place, but I'm so sorry for white people.
I think
it all the time. I look on Twitter and I just want to be like, I'm sorry about this. Listen, I don't know how to fix it, but I'm really sorry about it.
Because honestly, it's laughable. And the flip side of all this is that I've been asking my Asian friends, how do we actually start relearning the ancestral medicine that we came from and reclaim it in today's culture and allow ourselves to really find these alternate ways to ground ourselves that, you know, if you are seeing a therapist, that's wonderful, but not everyone can afford it. And even if you are, you can have other methods of self-reflection. Like, I think one of my friends was talking about how their Qigong teacher is also a physicist because Qi is basically like fifth dimension work. There's so many ties to the physical realm that people have already learned long ago, and we're just like pretending like we keep discovering it. My partner mentioned something got popularized in the last couple of years. I was like, by who? because I swear people are already doing it. Let's just use a little critical thinking in that moment. But bitterness aside, I've been thinking so much about my roots of, I definitely come from a line of healers that didn't know they were healers, lost that terminology because we came to the Western world where survivalship or survivor energy is promoted by POCs to fight each other. I mean, my mom can barely acknowledge that we are Japanese in many senses, which is crazy because my grandma was in internment camps. And when we talk about reparations, I'm like, hey, there's a very clear example of where our people needed reparations. And I see the survivor mentality click, and it's suddenly like, no, those were other people. We made it. We survived. We don't have complaints. Like, we don't, it's like this crazy brainwashing energy of pitting POCs against each other that is just so deeply rooted that my friends and my generation seems to be looking into. We can see that a lot of work needs to be done. We were passed a hand that is confusing and heavy and mixed, and like digging into it means digging into ourselves in a way that sometimes makes me want to cry, because it's just like a lot of pressure if you are handed this carpet that has, or a rug that has so much trauma underneath, and you see your family just like vacuuming the rug. And you're like, what about the dirt underneath it? And the family's like, no, we got it. We're just maintaining, cleaning.
Clean the rug.
But I think
it's clean.
Yeah, I think late gen millennials and Gen Z are so much about what is mental health and how can we approach it in ways that are not stigmatized. Just for example, a lot of people are really afraid of therapy because of cultural roots within it, like the way in which people were thrown into mental asylums and harmed and treated like there was no way of fixing things, that again, addressing the symptom rather than the root of the problem. And I think the Gen Z millennial generations are asking ourselves, what are ways that we can heal our own communities? What are ways that we can gather together? And what are ways that we can reconnect to the history that we come from so that we don't forget what happened and we don't repeat mistakes that others are doing? And yeah, so I've been looking into finding ways to mix tarot with Chinese medicine, with Reiki, which is a Japanese art style of energy healing art style. Yeah, it's art. I think it's art. Yeah, there's so many questions, and it's really hard to feel like we could find mentors in these days, because in America, a lot of people who practice Reiki and who practice Chinese medicine are white. Like, I was looking up a podcast. I was just typing on Spotify. I was typing, hey, I want a podcast about Chinese medicine. And I found one where every single thumbnail was a white person talking to a white person about Chinese medicine. I was like, what in the fuck? So I've decided the way that my friends and I want to learn this is through collective gathering of information and resources, and asking my friends who have more recent ties to China, like, what are some things that you were taught? Like, what are some practices that weren't established as like, this is like the only way you could get accredited to being a healer, like all these I don't know, all these ways in which people limit the way we have access to health and healthcare and healing. Yeah, I just have so many questions. Yeah. I talk a lot and then I end with, I have so many questions.
I love it though. Of course, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
But you're making me think a lot about my own culture as well, and like the disconnect that I have with that. I wish we didn't have a travel ban right now in the middle of a pandemic. Let's just go. I'm like, I'll just go to Korea and just spend a few months there and learn from the source, but like, it's not an option right now.
Kate, I was even thinking about you yesterday because one of my friends is not a Korean adoptee, but was born in America or born in Korea, brought to America, grew up here. We were talking about our Asian American identities and how we all made our own peace with that. And it's really amazing to see, like, he went back to Korea, is living there, and is trying to really understand, like, that part of him that his family couldn't really describe or share, despite, thinking that moving to America would give him more resources and opportunities. Yeah, right now he's like, I don't know if I should return right now.
That might not be the time.
Just stay.
He was like, I'm trying to
Stay
find a
for
way
now.
to support from afar. Because when you visit Korea or fly in, they give you hand sanitizer, paper towels, instant food. Like, there's a care package that is given to you when you arrive. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
South Korea's been doing a really good job with controlling the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
really,
awesome. I want to do that.
I hope that even if you can't connect to the land itself right now, that you can find people you can connect to some of this more ancestral healing methods from. Because, I mean, I'm not super familiar with Korean specific ones, but I'm assuming that it's somewhat aligned with Chinese and Japanese medicine because of, like, the focus on, well, I mean, I think because Korea was influenced a lot by China, not by choice of Confucianism. So,
Yeah, I was
Influence is
gonna say it's been owned by China and Japan many times throughout history. So I'm sure there's tons of overlap. Yeah.
Oh God, China and Japan.
Well, I want to talk more about this, but I want to pivot real quick before we
Yes.
run too long because I wanted to ask you about rest.
Yeah.
You were talking about rest and actively working on what does rest mean for you and how to rest. Can you speak more to that and how, like, for myself and Emily and our listeners, like, what practices have you employed that seem to work well? I would love to just hear more about your idea and concept of rest.
Staying still. That sounds really silly, but I've noticed, like, even the way that I speak has moved slower because I'm letting myself come to the right conclusion for my sentence. I feel that this practice of slowness began maybe 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I was working on film sets, I was making my own films. Everything felt forced and forced and forced. And I found that by finding my own spirituality and a way to connect with my friends in the earth, I learned a lot more about slowness. So a lot of the friends within my cohort speak about, well, I have a mixture of friends who grow / are farmers / are, like, urban farmers, where, like, one of my friends lives in a dorm where she's grown on the rooftop of that dorm a huge jungle of things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, grows her own, I'm forgetting what type of herb it is, but with her own period blood, so that when she drinks the tea from that herb, it actually corrects her period for her.
Wow.
Right?
We were just speaking with our guest from the episode right before yours goes out about menstrual blood and plants.
She also waters her
Hell
section of her garden.
everyone should.
My mind is blown. I'm going to start doing it.
Yeah, it's funny that, I mean, a lot of my friends, I just bought that same person a tarot deck with herbs because I was looking for something that would allow her to ground herself in the ways that I know she and I already do with each other. And on top of that is layered into her interests, because she was expressing interest in tarot, but wasn't sure where to start. And, but going back to slowness, I had a lot of artistic partners last year where we tried the Russia project. It affected our friendship, and we actually had to talk through boundaries and consent. And most of what I practiced last year was asking for boundaries, asking for consent, learning how to, when I was poly, like, learning how to ask what people wanted, seeing through when people were lying, which is not my job, but understanding that a lot of us are coming from these dynamics of feeling like we owe people our bodies. And I think I've spent the last year asking myself, what do I want for my body? And that involves not including other people in that question. And I used to find it through art. I miss that, but I'm at the moment I'm realizing I've grown so much that my slowness is involved with understanding how much I've changed so that I can't hold myself to the same standards I once did. And also knowing when I want to speak out, I need to know exactly how much energy I want to give to that. Just being able to respond versus reacting has been really important to me. My therapist has given me this language of when people are being harmful, I can say to them, I'm not hearing you, to remind myself that I don't have to hear them. I also was given the language of react versus respond. Reacting is kind of what I felt like my art was becoming, of fighting endlessly to force people to listen to me. Basically saying like, hey, I'm here, I exist, and other people being like, no, I don't see you. And now I'm responding by saying, I see that these people are expressing that they really need me, but how much can I actually give right now? How much can I give in the future by preserving energy? And also understanding that I need to have boundaries of how much I want to ask of others. So, for example, something I had to learn last year was, how do I ask for more and ask for help? As someone who typically has been nothing but a giver, and someone, when we practice tarot and any magic and it becomes external for others, it's like, how do we check in to make sure that we're not giving too much? I actually opt out of reading people's tarot sometimes when I know I can't give, because I'd rather just show up to them with a full heart. But I started asking my friends for more and expecting less. So I will ask someone and give them an opt-out option and reassure them that I have other people I can ask for this help. And if they say no, I'm like, cool, I will ask someone else now. And I'm starting to do that with myself when it comes to feeling needed or feeling like everyone's relying on me for a resource. I'm like, no, I am not the only person who can do this. Also, did I even sign up to help? Did I offer my service? Was I asked for my consent? Because if not, I'm leaving.
That's from the flip side of that. Something I've been trying to do, not to interrupt, sorry.
No, please.
But it's
That's
just
truly it.
when, because I feel like, I think that there's a big, like, people want to ask questions of people they see as like leaders or as people who have strong opinions, great ideas, you know, but there's a lot of things you can Google, and you should get in the practice of being, when you have a question, don't just send it to someone. See if you can find your own answer first. Like, you can talk to your friends to find guidance, but like, it's so important not to always put things on other people to help you. If you want to get more involved in a movement, or if you want to do something helpful for the world, ask the internet first. Like, you can find it, you can do it. I don't know. I feel like I see people doing that. Like, how can I help? Or like, what should I do? And it's like, find out. You know, like, I don't know. It's a thought I've been having.
I've been asking people their question back to them. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm like, that question wasn't for me. Or if people question me, so it's something that I find really expending energy is when people ask something to make me doubt my art or my tarot or myself. And I think in this moment, everyone is expecting high expectations of themselves and of others. And I'm not them. They don't know my experiences. I understand if you're questioning me as someone who does not question myself, but as someone who does question myself, I'm like, that's not mine. I think
this is a question to look inside.
Yeah, one of my friends, I was talking about Chinese medicine, and they're like, I'm just really worried for you legal wise. Like, what if you get into some sort of legal battle? I was like, what?
What?
Under what circumstances?
Well,
where did that come from?
I was talking about how I think my tarot has verged into therapy-esque energies. And I think also about my friends who do sex work and how they've talked to me about how that's essentially like touch therapy for a lot of men. And on top of that, thinking about how mediumship and all these things, every experience I've had with someone who is a healer is also doing therapy in some form, like teaching you a skill then you could go home and use some self-coping mechanisms. And I was thinking about how, in addition, a lot of my friends who I've asked for advice on if I should go get a degree in therapy or like in psychology, social work, or some friends who I know who have gone into life coaching. They're like, a lot of these systems are set up to accredit you to serve white people. So then what about the other people that you want to serve, or like people who are marginalized, who have experiences that are not covered in these textbooks, not covered in this research? And also just thinking about when acupuncture actually got accredited in America, it kind of goes alongside the commodification of it in white capitalist America. Like, people have been doing this long before you were getting accredited. And I understand, like, I'm not here to like, I'm very responsible of myself. I'm not going to sit here and dole out medicine. And especially within Chinese medicine, like, these doctors are very aware of what mixes with what. Like, that itself is chemistry. I'm not going to question those things. But my friend brought this question up to me because she didn't know anything about what I was talking about. And instead of being like, that sounds really interesting, I support you, she tried to find a way to question it because she didn't know about it. And in a way that wasn't supportive. And I think I cut her off. I was like, that's not mine. Like, I'm fine. Don't ask me like that. That was really hurtful. I've been doing a lot of work. People will ask me, one of my coworkers asked me what she should do because she felt like she just wanted to bury her head in the sand in June. And Kate, you might have saw the Instagram rant I posted on this, but basically saying, you asking how you can better show up is also exhausting to others, because instead you could just show up, or you could, if you don't know what to do some research, similar to what Emily was saying. You can look
that's it's like, I see a lot of white people do that kind of thing, and it's like, how can I help? What can I do? I want to be part of the movement. I don't know how to. And it's like, don't say you don't know how. Find out.
So many resources.
There's so many resources. It's so easy to find out.
But also, like you were saying, that's a question she should ask herself. Like,
yeah, exactly. Ask yourself first.
How can I better show up? And think about that, and then do it. You know,
and then make justice an action. You know, like, even if it's a little one, it's not that it's your whole, like, you're not the only one that can do it, but do something. If you have that feeling, just do something.
I know. Actually, going back to the concept of community and rest. So, Kate, I know you were saying sometimes, and Emily, I'm sure you felt this too, like, you could feel really isolated in a movement that is mostly digital or like in person, but we're wearing masks, so we can't even be close to each other. Like, we are in a time of this crazy self-isolation. And yet we are expected to show up for community in a way that a pandemic might not actually healthily allow you to. And that causes a lot of anxiety and stress for people. And so I think it's really important that even in this time, we find communities that are, maybe they don't know all the solutions, but we can ask the same questions together so that we don't feel alone. Like, alone time will often lead to depression. We're at an all-time high for depression right now. Yeah, I think joy is a really important form of activism. And one of my friends is making a dance project right now, and I just literally asked her, I was like, I laughed really hard at this one part of a video that you made, and I thought that was really important, because in all the seriousness of analyzing your Asian identity, I also feel like we have a lot of survivorship and joy and laughter. And not everything has to be perfectly serious to be taken seriously. Like, you could be playful and still be taken seriously. So there is no way in which you screaming into the world endlessly is going to ever be healing for you, which I completely understand screaming. It's processing, and sometimes you need to scream because people are violating your boundaries. But when you scream, you deserve healing in that moment for yourself. And you can't forget the second half of it, which is the non-public facing self, the private self, where you are by yourself. And that time is so important to embrace your joy and your healing and your community. And like what What gives you purpose of living? I was outside today and I just started basically crying because the weather reminded me of times that I've spent with friends in parks, or like times that I've made art outside, and the reason and the deep thing that drives me. And I lost that. And so much of, I mean, Kate knows that I had to take some time off of Instagram because a lot of people were coming into my DMs that were being really inappropriate and similarly asking too much of me and not knowing me. And I was feeling pressure to answer everything. Every piece of art I was making was no longer for my own joy or self-exploration. It was to explain something to someone who was not paying me. I didn't sign up to pay or to provide information for. And yeah, I had to relearn my boundaries so that I'm allowed joy. Because without joy, why are we living? I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like joy in the face of oppression is some of the most radical kind of, revolutionary behavior. I think that's really important too. I think a lot of BIPOC friends that I follow have been kind of, saying that, it's one thing to be posting constantly videos and photos of specifically Black trauma or and death and violence, and that can be really harmful actually to the community and rehash trauma, on an individual level. But there's also something, on the other hand, it's really beautiful and wonderful to share Black joy and share, that despite it all, we can still thrive. We can still fight. We can still have joy in our lives. It's a multifaceted experience.
Yeah, we're not fighting for this end result that's going to be here in our lifetime. Let's be real.
Right.
So why are we not allowed to also enjoy our lives and have, not indulgently, like, let's be very clear, like, again, this is all about, you have to understand what is enough for yourself so that you can share with the rest of the world. And you can do that learning at the same time as you are fighting the fight. You can do a lot at once, and no one thing has to be overwhelming. And when it is overwhelming, take a break. Be able to plug back in. You can't endlessly run. No one, absolutely. I remember now what I told my coworker. I said, no one is asking you to burn yourself out. We are not. Because if you burn out, you won't be here the next year. You won't. You will forget, or you will go back to like the shell of protection that you've created for yourself. And that is, in my opinion, irresponsible. Like, burning yourself out is irresponsible. And I understand not everyone has the same coping mechanisms, which is why I teach tarot. But yeah, no one is asking you to. You are asking yourself to, because you are beating yourself up mentally that you feel like you're not doing enough. But is anyone even verbally asking you to? And also on the topic of, rehashing trauma, like, stop showing Black bodies getting hurt. Just stop it. Just stop it. I'm going to shout that into the sky, because I'm watching my Black friends get re-traumatized over and over again. And it's just, I think it's incredibly fucked up and irresponsible. It's like when rape is shown on films. I'm like, no, don't show it. Like, you don't need, this is not for anyone. You're putting your actors through that. You're putting everyone on set in that environment. I've been on a set where they've done something like that, and you can hear people screaming. It's horrifying. Like, the only people who write this are people who are probably thinking about doing that type of harm. Like, seriously, shut up. Stop it. I think we're so desensitized to things right now. Like, I can't really play violent video games anymore. I never really was that great at it, but when I see it, I'm like, oh my God, like, why are we allowing ourselves to pretend like that's okay and fun? And that leads to the same violence that we see in the news. I'm not saying it's the only reason why violence exists. Like, it existed before, and now it's being glamorized. But God.
But it's hard to, when you live in a violent world, it's hard to then look at violence as your entertainment too, as your way to like refill the bucket.
Yeah. I mean, I basically broke up with some friends last year because we were arguing about rape in film. And I was just like, I don't understand. And
I've always been against showing it. I completely 100% agree.
Yeah. It's
Well-
so, yeah, I don't like it either. Anyway.
You don't have to put that
well,
card in the podcast, by the way. Sorry, that was just like a
no, it's
anger.
okay. I will say,
No, it's valid.
well, because then you get into like film theory and the male gaze and all of that, and that just whatever. But I will say, going back to kind of everything you were speaking about, I think something that we've been learning through this podcast over the last year is that witchcraft, spirituality, occultism, paganism, religion, science, all of it, whatever term you want to call it, is about, at the end of the day, mindfulness. At the end of the day, it's about awareness, and it's about introspection and growth, and I love that you're approaching rest in that way, from both kind of a political perspective as well as a more personal perspective of just being more mindful, thinking, like responding before reacting, like you said. I love that phrase, and I think that overall has also been a journey of mine, and made me so much like happier is a term. I think that is, happiness is like a loaded term for a lot of people, but I feel more full. I feel more whole and content and solid within my being because of my mindfulness, of being able to say, of not letting my emotions control me, but rather being able to feel them and then say, okay, where is that coming from? Or being able to say, this is what I want to manifest. Why is that? And then how can I work towards making that happen? Or accept, everything. Mindfulness is just the biggest thing. And I also want to quickly shout out openpathcollective.org offers sliding scale therapy to anyone, whether or not you have insurance. So if you are interested in getting help, and I think everyone should get therapy because it's amazing, look at openpathcollective.org.
I love that. Should we draw a tarot card?
Yes,
I
let's
would
draw
love
a card. Jen, do you want to draw a card for us?
Yeah, let me go
If
grab
you
my
feel-
deck.
Yeah.
If you feel called to.
Here I go. Let me find my deck real quick. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. This one is the Modern Witch deck by Lisa Sturl. I actually have been meaning to find a new deck, but I don't know. I've been waiting for one that I've seen that resonates, but it's been really hard to even work with the deck lately because similar to Kay and I mentioned this in the beginning before we were all together, there is so much pressure to externalize the internal, which I believe is also a really important part of rest. Like, why do I need to show you that I've grown? I know I've grown. But yeah, this deck externally has not resonated with me as much, but it's lovely because it does have like pretty genderqueer and POC imagery on it.
That's awesome.
As per usual, I'm only pulling the major arcana.
That's totally fine. That's great.
Do you all have a question or anything to pull from?
What?
Do you have a question or anything I should pull with the energy of?
Maybe, feel free to add maybe just something about what should we keep in mind in the coming weeks as we work towards our own journeys and relationships with rest and what we bring to the table and what we reserve for ourselves. That topic is really resonating with me personally. But
yeah. Oh, actually, so 2 cards popped out, which I'm just gonna let those are our cards. Didn't mean to pull 2, but the Sun and Strength came out at the same time.
Hey.
Wow!
We're just talking about you.
Yeah.
And Strength. Talking about this. Amazing.
I guess to me, both of these are such pivotal turning points in the story of the tarot. Like, Strength is right when you start choosing the internal journey versus the external presence of yourself. And then the Sun is when you return with that energy. So to me, it's like, allow yourself to do your internal work so that when you want to come back out into the world, the Sun, you can do it with joy and love and gentleness and the sharpness that you need if it's needed. But do you mind if I peek at the bottom of the deck? I've been doing this lately. I've been finding that half of the deck will tell me what I'm asking, and then the bottom will be like what I'm learning from. So
I love that idea.
The lovers is on the bottom. So self-love,
That's
gentleness, and finding that everything around you will remind you of something that you have neglected in yourself. So when you fall in
Yeah.
love with something else, it's reminding you that you've always had that attribute and you just misnourishing it.
Mm.
beautiful.
My heart always feels so full whenever we speak with you, June.
I know. Sorry, it's great to chat with
I
you.
love you too so much.
So I know that you're not. We love you as well, and I know that you're not actively posting too much right now, and have taken a bit of break from your art. But you know, if when you are ready to come back to the sun, if listeners did want to follow you in a respectful, mindful way, how can they find you?
I think last time when I spoke on your podcast, I got some really loving messages on my Instagram, and I really appreciated that. It's not that I'm asking for people to comment or message, but if you do have a question or anything, I'm happy to answer it there. I just don't check it that often. I think I've gotten to the point where I check it once every month or two. So just be aware. I might return. I would like to return when I'm ready to deal with the moon card. So no clue on timeline for that. But if you would
That
like to
sounds
see that art, it's Lolo Sketches, LOLO Sketches, yeah, on Instagram. And that's the only way I can be reached.
That's perfect. That's more than enough.
And if you end up teaching anything else at Surya-side or anything like that, we'll share it on our Instagram
Yeah.
whenever that comes
Absolutely.
up.
I will probably be teaching another course on like in December or January. Those are the two.
Great.
So either closing the year or opening. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, we'll
Beautiful.
post about it. Thank you so much, June.
Thank
And you can
you.
find the Witchcast Podcast on Instagram as well at Witchcast Podcast. And feel free to email us or DM us, witchcastpodcast@gmail. And you can find more info. We have a whole page of witchy resources, and we'll also, post how you June's Instagram, how you can get in touch with them on our website at witchcastpodcast.com. And
Yay.
don't forget to please subscribe and leave us a review if you like us and these conversations so that other people may find us. That always helps. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
Will you say our outro? Will you say Hexia with us, June?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Whenever you're ready.
And will you lead?
Oh, and until next time,
Heck
yeah!
Woo!
'Cause it's Witchcast.